What is up, all you angelic ASMR? It is your resident Prismatic Wizard, back with another video. As you notice, we are not in the normal studio or in the normal hat, but the show must go on. And today, I have an interesting question to pose to you. Have you ever received a magic item that was, not what it seemed? Yes, that is correct. Today we will be talking about cursed magic items and how to use them and when to use them in your adventures. Getting and using magic items is a blast. They can boost your character's abilities or even give you new abilities. But what happens when that axe that you've been using to cut down your enemies at a ferocious rate suddenly becomes the fixation of your character's every thought? And even when the party confronts them about it, they're unwilling to part with it. That, my friend, means your axe is cursed. Rules is written, any magic item can have a curse section of its description, where after you attune to said magic item, you are bound by a specific curse. This could be anything from not being able to part with the weapon, like the Berserker Axe, or to the point of your hit point maximum being reduced every time you take a long rest. The variations of this trait are massive. However, this poses a key problem because this isn't a very well-founded mechanic. Don't get me wrong, I love cursed magic items. There's nothing quite like handing your player an item that you know they will struggle between the choice of keeping or throwing away. However, you have to make it a reasonable choice. If the curse outweighs the benefits of your magic item, then the party's going to want to get rid of it as quick as possible. But this poses yet another problem. As D&D YouTuber Ginny D puts it, this leads to two options, either a simple fix or a massive pain in the butt side quest just to get the curse removed. And this all depends on one key thing: whether your party is 5th level or not. Yes, that's right. The only difference between a 5-minute resolution and a 3-month resolution is the difference of having 3rd level spells or not, as the spell Remove Curse is granted to several classes when they hit 5th level. This is a very disappointing mechanic when it comes to curses, because I think the greatest thing about curses is that they make your players make difficult decisions. To give you a quick example of this, let me tell you a story about a magic item I gave to one of my players in my campaign. This isn't a quote-unquote cursed item according to the sourcebook, but it does have all of the properties that make a good cursed item. This is the Sword of Cass, the Betrayer. To give some backstory for those who don't know about Cass the Betrayer, he was the lieutenant of Vecna the Archlich, who was actually the first vampire in some D&D worlds. In my world, Cass had betrayed Vecna and cut off their hand with this mighty sword, the Sword of Cass, which I named Garador. Garador had a sentience and was made of a dark obsidian that just emanated evil vibes. When the party's wizard finally opened the runic container, they found within the hilt of a sword, maybe broken off in some bygone age. However, upon investigating the hilt, they found a gem inlay that, if you press down, would prick your finger, sucking some of your blood into the sword. If you're following this is giving massive evil vibes. This illustrates an important concept for cursed magic items, and that is foreshadowing. What you do not want to do is simply force a cursed magic item onto your party. You want to give them the choice. So when that wizard sees the shaft of this old sword with an inlay where they can sacrifice some of their blood for a mysterious boon, what do you think is going to happen when they make that sacrifice? It is the player giving you, the DM, an opportunity to play forward into that storyline. Now, back to our story. As our wizard sacrificed some of his blood, we saw the entire blade of Garador shoot out in its full majesty. Now, at this point, there are a couple things that you should know about the Sword of Cast stat block from the Dungeon Master's Guide. It is what is called a legendary artifact, and that means that it is a very potent magic item that has many different properties. Some of these is a sentience, which means the magic item is physically living. It has a personality, it has desires that will slowly impact the player that's using it. Another thing is that these have some random abilities that you, the DM, can roll beforehand. I like to go through the list and take out what choices I think best fit this weapon I am using. So for Garador, I decided to give it a life-draining ability. What this means is that when a creature attunes to it, Garador sucks out some of their life force. This comes in practically by aging the character. As our wizard summoned this sword, he felt the very life essence within him sucked away. This is the Crossroads where a magic item that is cursed can either be a fun story prompt or a pain in the butt for the party. And the difference between those two is benefits mixing with the detriments. Since I gave this magic item such a potent detriment, actually aging one of my characters against their will, I had to give it another boon that would seriously drive this sword home. For this party, that meant a initiative boost. Basically, whenever the character rolled initiative, he got to add a d10 to his initiative roll. This makes for some crazy initiative rolls, especially with some other boons he's already gotten in the campaign. Like, seriously, team, he hasn't rolled lower than a 30 for initiative in a very long time. It's honestly scaring me. But mixing this ability that gives him a boost to his initiative rolls alongside the sword's +3 and another tweak I gave it to let him use his intelligence, this let the wizard use this magic item to decimate enemies. However, these powers do not come without a price. Even though the wizard already sacrificed part of his life force to activate and begin using this sword, every time he draws the sword, I give a small roleplay segment. Nothing too long, just a message from the Sword of Cast to the wizard. It's nothing much, but just a reminder that this sword radiates evil. And although the player doesn't know it, is up to no good. Without spoiling anything for that player, the Sword of Cast is a magic item that makes a player choose, right? If you choose to sacrifice some of your life force and interact with this evil item, you gain impressive powers, but you always know that there's a chance that this curse will come back to bite you. Another idea I like to tie into cursed magic items is the idea of the curse almost corrupting the person who uses it and making it more like the item itself, pushing some sort of a certain ideal. For the Sword of Cast, Garador, I like the idea of a person resorting to violence more often than not. If you look back at the abilities I gave the magic item, I gave bumps to initiative. That means that the wielder of this sword will oftentimes be making the first strikes. This is subtle, but I love the idea of the way mechanics work reflecting the ideas of the cursed magic item. As you may have noticed, there isn't actually any curse on Garador. It is simply detriments that come with the magic item if you use it. I like this because it is a more subtle way to do these curses that isn't as simply resolved, but is still fun for the game. That is my favorite kind of cursed magic item. Something like a Berserker Axe can be fun and a little bit tricky in certain situations, but something like the Sword of Cass makes a player choose. Are they going to continue down this dark path and use these powers, or will they try and redeem themselves? Something like that means that the story is being progressed. Okay, this example was for a very high level magic item, so let's turn this around and give an example of a lower level magic item by making our own, by still using this more subtle curse mechanic. I always like to start with the idea that this item is pushing. For Garrador, it was this quickness to violence. So how about for our magic item, let's make a vengeful axe. Say we take our great axe. Guys, I know this isn't a great axe. It's just the only prop I could find, okay? If we take this axe and give it some properties that make it feel vengeful. So let's start with something that gives us a bonus if we attack someone who attacked us first. Let's do this with an ability called Retorting Strikes. For this ability, when another creature hits us with an attack, we gain advantage on our next attack roll against that creature. This might seem like a very subtle thing that doesn't have a lot to do with what the curse would be. However, if you look closely, you will find that the player who uses this axe to its full potential will often be striking people who have already dealt them damage. This really pushes the idea of being more vengeful. As you might have noticed, this weapon doesn't actually have an actual curse, right? If we wanted to give this what a traditional curse would look like in D&D, you could have a curse section that if the player attunes to it, they are required to attack only people that have dealt them damage. However, we have achieved very much the same principle without forcing the players to do anything. I'm not saying this is a universal fix or even something that your players will like more than the more classical cursed magic items. All I'm saying is that this type of curse makes it feel like the item is cursed without actually saying that it is. You might find a character attacking more if they have an item that lets them get advantage on their first attack. This basically is just showing that the item is influencing the character in a specific way and is more of a corrupting factor than actually being cursed. Alright everyone, that is the end of the video. Thank you so much for watching. If you like this video, go ahead and give it a big old Bigby's hand size thumbs up and subscribe for some more Prismatic Wizard shenanigans. Let me know about stories with your cursed magic items in your campaigns down in the comments below. And let me know what you think of this video down there too. If you like this video on cursed magic items, go ahead and check out Ginny D's video on cursed magic items. And go ahead and give her as much love as you can with her new projects and stuff that she is doing. As always, check out other videos on the channel, but until then, keep it chromatic.